New relief checks will be sent out to eligible Social Security, SSI, and SSDI VA beneficiaries. However, lawmakers oppose that extra boosted payments should go to a more targeted group of people, and specifically Social Security recipients. Within the plans the US government has to benefit people in need, we can find three different ones: Social Security, SSI, and SSDI. These three can sometimes be combined, but not always. The date for receiving the Social Security supplement coincides every month with the first day. The amount of money we will receive will depend on many factors, but what is certain is that this supplement has a maximum of around $841. Most seniors count on Social Security benefits in retirement to help them cover the cost, but knowing how much you'll get isn't always easy. There are several other factors that affect this, including your age, when you claim, your birth year, and your income throughout your year. This month, several prominent senators introduced a bill in the household that would expand Social Security benefits by $2,400 a year and fully fund it for the next 75 years past the year 2096, all without raising taxes by 1 penny on over 92% of American households. Lawmakers introduced legislation following the recent release of an annual report by the trustees to the Social Security and Medicare trust funds that showed Social Security currently has $3 trillion surplus and can pay out every benefit owed to every eligible recipient until 2034. Under this bill, Social Security benefits for current and existing recipients would be increased by $200 a month. It would also increase the cost of living adjustment by measuring and spending patterns for seniors by adopting the CPI for the elderly. The new legislation, the Social Security Expansion Act, would raise the earnings cap on Social Security taxes as earnings are taxed up to $147,000 a year. The proposal would also update the special minimum benefit to make it increase and index the benefit level so that it equals to 125% of the federal poverty line, or about $17,000 for a single filer who had worked their entire career. Rising inflation and gas prices are also making it hard for people to meet all their needs. Several states are working on proposals to help residents offset the impact of inflation. Kentucky is the latest state that joined this growing list, and a stimulus check from Kentucky could give residents a one-time tax rebate worth $500. Both the chambers in Kentucky have come up with different plans. The Senate has proposed a one-time tax rebate, while the House wants to reduce the income tax from 5 to 4%. Specifically, the Senate approved a $1 billion rebate, while House bill proposes reducing the income tax rate. The House bill also calls for additional rate reductions to zero if the state hits revenue goals going forward. So folks, what are your thoughts on this? Is President Biden finally going to do what he promised and send out stimulus checks sooner than later? Tell me what you think.
Senator Langford.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you for all the witnesses here as well to be able to talk this through. My state is somewhat unique in this conversation today because if you're in Oklahoma, the eastern side of my state gets a tremendous amount of rain, and the western side of my state is the stopping point on it. And so we face intense droughts in the west, and we're growing tall timber in the east. So we get this. So let me walk through a couple of things that may be unique to my state, but also may translate into other areas. Moving waters by pipeline and actually trying to be able to transition water from east to west at times in some of these border states and areas. Is that being explored at all as options and possibilities? Obviously, there's compacting, there's other things with other states as water continues to be able to move south across the east, but how much is that even being discussed? Student.
We are looking at all options, but certainly being able to utilize what's in basin, what we have within our reservoirs is our priority. A lot of our projects require authorization of Congress with a feasibility study. And so should that be where Congress wants us to go, that's what we're doing. That's what we will do, but we'll say that I'm focused on what we have now and what is in our basins at the moment.
It has been interesting to me that in the past, go back several years ago, we actually had to have an act of Congress to move water from within my state from east to west because it was a different reclamation area. Though it was Oklahoma's water, it wasn't crossing any other state boundary, and it wasn't even violating any of our agreements with the states around us and where the water ends up at it. Just moving it east to west took an act of Congress to be able to move that through reclamation areas. Is that something that needs to stay in place? Does that become a regulatory barrier and an issue that we need to resolve?
I'm happy to continue that conversation, Senator.
I think that's pretty well. Senator Brown, if you want to go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to be talking to you again.
I just attended earlier today the National Federation of Independent Business Owners, and I and another congresswoman were answering questions that they have. And many there are concerned in general about Main Street businesses. My wife has had one since 1978 in our downtown. Some of the stuff that happened through COVID, a lot of those businesses got shut down. And many of them are grappling with all the issues we hear every day, a lot pre-COVID, workforce. There's a particular part of the economy, though, the gig economy, and independent contractors, Main Street business owners, that so many of them, to me, are so analogous to blue-collar workers because they actually live out of these businesses. And I've always been a proponent in running my own business for 37 years at high wages, great benefits, safe workplace, no turnover. And I think that generally, Main Street America, smaller businesses do all of that. Let's focus on the gig economy, particularly independent contractors. It seems like, and they think that the current administration is trying to, take their way of life away. They looked at the PRO Act. They look at some of the things that are being done. I would like your general comment on why we would look at them any differently from the good blue-collar worker that most of us employ for those same reasons. Why would we want to do anything that would diminish their way of living? Because to me, they are that.
No, thank you, Senator. And in a lot of cases, independent contractors, people who are independently employed, do great work. And they are part of our economy. And they're part of our, in some cases, part of our main streets. We see it in trucking, and we see it in different industries. The concern that I've always had when it comes to independent contracting is folks that are under the understanding that they are hired as employees, and then they're paid with a 1099, and they're not technically, they're actually an employee of a company. And I think that there's many different definitions of the concerns that people have in that. And that's kind of where, when I say this, I'll speak for myself personally, that I've always gotten concerned. An example of that is a restaurant where somebody gets hired as a dishwasher, and then all of a sudden they're being paid with a 1099, and they have